you're from Jersey. Where did you go to like Manasquan at all?
Yes. So I grew up in Rumson.
Okay.
But Manasquan is about 30 minutes down the road. My grandparents had a house in Spring Lake, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time there. But Manasquan's the next town over.
Okay.
But all the towns in New Jersey are so small that they all kind of feel like one town. Like my town is 5 square miles and the town next to us is 1. And then we have a regional high school. So like the towns are like, yeah, they're really small.
I went to the Parker House one time.
Yep. The Parker House is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still go sober. Yeah. It's really fun. I've been a lot.
You are able to go to places sober?
Yes. It's changed over time, definitely. Like in the very beginning, when I first stopped drinking, that first like 30 days, I didn't go out at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to more so. Now I'm kind of in a place where I can't be around heavy drinkers at all. Like I really tried to like not, I'm still young. So a lot of my friends are still very heavy drinkers. So I've just gotten to a point where I'm like, I just don't want to be around it anymore. I can, like, I don't want to drink by looking at someone else drink, but I just don't want to be around it. And I'd rather hang out with my friends sober or, you know, not really drinking very much. So like, just because I can handle being around it, like it is, if I see someone that reminds me of me when I was drinking, that is just ruins my night, to be honest.
It's a trigger.
It is a trigger.
Well, when we get sober, we get this awareness, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're able to be around it, but you don't want to be around the heavy drinkers, the sloppy drinking, because that triggers you. But knowing your triggers, setting those boundaries is something, I mean, that's sobriety 101.
Right.
And it's great because there are people that come into sobriety and 5 years later, they're like, no, I will not go to a bar. I will not go outside. I will not breathe air. Like I'm not doing anything. And it's like, that's no way to live. Not saying like bars are the greatest place to go in the world, but when you're young, like yourself, going to those, everyone's going to bars.
That's what all my friends are doing, which I kind of like go in doses, or like I'll go for a few hours and like I'm not going to close the bar anymore, you know? Yeah. So it's just learning. And at different times in my life, like if I'm, you know, going through something with my, you know, recovery journey, it kind of turns off the bar from me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have days where I am in an AA meeting in the morning and out at night, or like go from an AA meeting out to the bar. Like I just have learned what balance works for me depending on, you know, what's going on with me at that time. I think that's it's been a little difficult socially, I think, especially because I was actually talking to one of my friends about this yesterday. Like I'm very extroverted. I like to hang out with my friends. I'm very social, but there is that element that since I can't drink anymore, there are times where I'm uncomfortable in social scenarios, not because I'm not social, but because there's alcohol involved. So it is something that I struggle with still. It would make my life easier if nobody ever drank, but that's not reasonable,
right.
Especially at my age. Like I think I got sober really early, and I think that in the next, you know, couple of years, more people will be getting sober, and more people will be realizing that they may have an alcohol problem. But at this time, like in my own circle, beside for people I've met through the program and other things, like I'm pretty much the only sober one.
Yeah.
So
leading by example. The seats are there when they're ready to come.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to do. I have a few friends who have stopped drinking since I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a good 3 years into my sobriety to where I can go places where there is drinking and not be self-conscious.
Yeah.
It took me a while. I'd be there and it's funny, like when there's no alcohol, I'm not overthinking what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not analyzing my social skills around others. When I'm in a bar and there's drinking going on, because I used to work in sales and I used to take clients out, and I used to work with advertising agencies.
Okay.
And I used to take clients out a lot, and I wouldn't be drinking. And it's a party atmosphere every single time. The buyers, the supervisors, the group directors, I'm taking them out to bars, drinking, nice dinners, and I would be self-conscious. I'm like, oh, what I just said, is that dumb? Like, are they not going to do business with me because I just said that? Like, I would just overthink shit.
Yeah.
And it took me a couple of years to get through that. But again, I think, you know, you have the awareness, which is amazing. And And congratulations on 1 year sober.
Thank you.
What was it, last week?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
for you to pick that up this quick in your sobriety, it's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think work events are tricky. I remember my first like work event sober, and I didn't want to disclose too much. Like I just don't I wasn't very I had started a new job and I wasn't very close with my team now. Now my team knows more just like from, us getting closer and working together more, but I didn't want to say too much. Like I didn't want to use the term alcoholic or anything like that. I just was like, "Oh, I don't drink." Um and also I remember going to like client things where the client wants to bring us out and treat us. They want to make sure we have enough drinks, and like I'm just like, "Oh, no, no, thank you." And they wanna they don't mean it in a way that's like, you should be drinking, but they
Mhm.
wanna make sure you're, like, taken care of, and they wanna give you more drinks and whatever, and I'm just like, "Oh, no, that's okay." Like, one of our clients we work with a lot knows I don't drink now that I just was like, "Oh, I don't drink." And she's like, "Oh, okay, okay."
Yeah.
But yeah, work environments are tricky because you don't wanna say anything too, like, personal, but you also if you're going to happy hours and client dinners and stuff like that, like, you wanna just set the precedent early that, like, I won't be ever drinking at any of these things, and if I do, that'll be a problem, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Um,
I had this one client who was annoying me all night long. "Dude, why aren't you drinking? Dude, why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking?" Must have asked me about 20 times. I finally
yeah,
pulled him aside. I'm like, "Bro, I don't fucking drink. Don't fucking ask me again.
yeah,
Seriously, you're getting annoying. Don't ask me again." "Oh, okay, my bad." I'm like, "Don't ask me again." And yeah, I was just,
there you go. I like to shock people. Like, if someone's really bothering me, I'm like, "I'm an alcoholic."
Mm.
I'm just like, "Oh," and they're like, "Oh, okay." Like, I have the experience a lot at bars where, like, a guy will try and buy me a drink, and he's just so like, guys do this whether or not you drink, it is
Mhm.
annoying.
Yeah.
'Cause they just wanna they keep, like, trying to buy you a drink, and a certain like, one time I was just like, "I'm pregnant," and he was like, "Have a great pregnancy," and just walked away from me. I was like, "Thank God." Honestly, he'll never come back,
Yeah.
like, he's done for the night, but, yeah, sometimes I'm just, like, over it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm a raging alcoholic, like, please leave me
Mhm.
alone." They're like, "Okay, all right."
Everyone's wallet will be gone by the end of the night
Yeah,
if I start
I know.
drinking
I'm like,
anyway.
"You really trust me, you don't wanna buy me a drink. Trust me."
So you're from New Jersey. You have
Yes.
an older brother.
Yep.
What was childhood like for you?
I had a lovely childhood. I grew up in New Jersey with my mom and my brother. My dad was killed on September 11th,
I'm
which,
sorry.
thank you. I was 4 months old when that happened, so I have no memory of that. My brother was 2. We were living in a different house when that happened, and we moved like almost immediately to the house or to the area that I live in now. Um, that didn't start, like, affecting me until I was older. It affects me way more now than it ever has, just because I'm, like, more aware of it, but I don't remember that I didn't know anything different, so it didn't, like, affect me until I was, like, probably, like, 10 years old.
Mhm.
Um, but I really did have a lovely childhood. My mom is so supportive. She's the best. She has given me a wonderful life. She's always, prioritized making my brother and I happy and giving us a great childhood. I think a lot of that stems from like just feeling sorry for us that we grew up without a dad, but she's done an incredible job. She's like the best mother ever, and she's the strongest woman I know, definitely. Such a warrior.
When we're young, there are events that happen that we may just be unaware of. Obviously, you were 4 months old. It's all you knew without a
Yeah.
dad. Did you feel it looking back now? Do you think you felt it at a young age, the energy? Because kids are smart.
Yes.
And like when parents, right? Like they're together, but they hate one another and they're fighting, but they're putting the smiles on in front of their kids. Like the kids still feel that energy.
Yeah.
Did you feel maybe the grieving process with your mom or?
I think kids are a lot more perceptive than we think. I studied psychology in college and like learning it. I remember taking a child psychology class and being terrified to have kids because of how impressionable children are, and any little thing, anything you say, anything you do, the environments that you're in like really affect children. And so I think I'm realizing now that things that went on in my childhood definitely like affected me. I would never have considered myself someone that was like, had anything wrong with my childhood. But I think, I mean, my mom experienced something horrifying when I was 4 months old. And I'm sure I talked to my therapist about this. I'm sure that like there was a level of passing around that happened when I was younger. My mom has a bunch of siblings. I have grandparents, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that as a child, I was passed around a lot. And everyone tried, to give me attention because you need it at that age. But I'm sure that was a little difficult for like a baby to not have like, I'm sure I got my mom's obviously has PTSD from what happened. And I'm sure I was carrying off that energy as a child. I think everyone in my family is riddled with anxiety, and I think that stems from a very young age.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of my energy, my nervous energy, my anxious energy probably comes from, that beginning.
Yeah. So growing up, did you play sports at all? Were you involved in
Yes.
anything?
Oh my God. I was involved in everything. I had to have straight A's. I was so hard on myself, like from a very young age. I was always super high achieving. I got the grades that I wanted. I got into the college I wanted to get into. I was an incredible athlete. I was in a bunch of clubs. I was president of clubs. Like I was super high achieving. I scored very high on all of my tests. I took a bunch of APs, and I felt good about that, but it was never good enough for me. I have this debilitating perfectionism to myself, and that being an alcoholic and a perfectionist is the worst combination because you get drunk and you do something that doesn't align with you because you're not you, and you just punish yourself. You just if you do something that doesn't align with you, even if it isn't objectively bad to someone else, it's debilitating to deal with. And that perfectionism mindset has run my life. And I've tried at this point to give myself a lot more grace, and especially in recovery, like you have to. Like I can't every day beat up on myself for where I am in my progress. I think something that was really helpful that someone told me, like, stop trying to be in a different place in your recovery than you are. Like, I'm a year sober and I wish I was 10 years sober. I wish I was 20 years sober. I wish I had the wisdom of 50-year-olds in the program, but I don't, and trying to give myself grace and, do what I need to do and be where I need to be has been a challenge for me, but it's where I am where I want to be now.
With 8 years sober, I wish I had 1 year sober.
Why?
Because it was so new and fun. And
Yeah.
listen, there are other things that give me joy today. There are.
Yeah.
But also too, like that beginning, that first year, second year, I really learned a lot and I grew a lot.
I missed the pink cloud.
You missed it.
Oh my God. The pink cloud was amazing.
Yeah.
The pink cloud.
Oh, you miss it. I thought you
miss
meant
it.
you never had it.
No,
I was like,
no.
shit.
Oh no. I had the pink cloud. I was so blissful in the pink cloud. It was like I had gone from complete misery to, I was like feeling like hippy dippy. Like I went from misery to like euphoria in that pink cloud. I had lost a bunch of weight. I had no anxiety. I had no depression. Like I was just I had so much energy. I was like smiling all the time, like the Joker. And then after the pink cloud dissolved, I was like, oh, this is my life now.
Yeah.
And that's when the real stuff happens in sobriety, is when all of the good things, the drastic changes that are positive have happened. And then you're like settling into who you are. And now it's just like, this is my life. It was after the pink cloud when I started to have to deal with things, and that's kind of where I am now.
I say this in almost every episode: drinking, drugs, gambling, sex. These are all symptoms of the disease.
Yeah.
Right? Fill the void, fill the void, fill the void. The problem lies within here. And it's like we have to do that work on ourselves, or we're eventually going to drink again or drug again or whatever it is again. And when that pink cloud goes away, when it's not new anymore and you're sitting with yourself, that's where the work kicks in.
Yeah.
Right? We need to change as people. So, all right. So you're doing everything as a kid. You're getting high grades.
Yep.
Where did you end up going to college?
I went to Tulane University in New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
That's interesting. You went Jersey to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting because it was a breeding ground for my substance abuse, but I don't like blame Tulane by any means for my alcoholism. I just think it expedited the process of me getting sober.
Yeah.
Um,
Were you drinking before then in high
Yeah.
school? And were you doing drugs at all, or?
No, I'm not. This is like a crazy thing, but I'm not into drugs besides weed. I liked weed. I smoked a lot of weed, but never had an issue with it. Never like dependence or addiction. I tried some other drugs, but the main reason, this is like crazy. I thought about this the other day. I tried cocaine in college, and the reason I didn't like it is because it made me conscious. Like I loved being unconscious. Like I loved the blackout. I loved the numbing. And I remember trying cocaine at a frat party, and it like what I thought was sobering me up. And I was like,
This is horrible.
what's the point of this? Like I just had like 14 drinks and now I'm sober. So I was just like, yeah, no, that I'm not going to be an uppers girl.
Yeah.
So honestly, thank God. I'm really glad that given my personality and my alcohol addiction, I'm really glad that I didn't, stumble into heavier drugs.
Were you drinking alcoholically in high school?
No. That I think is what trips me up and kept me from getting sober for a long time, because I always thought I could just go back to the way that it was. And I've learned now that alcoholism is a progressive disease. It really did go from alcohol use to misuse to abuse. Use was in high school. It wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary in high school. At least I didn't think so. And to misuse was early college, and then end of college to postgrad was full on abuse. And so that trickiness of the abuse, try and get back to, I didn't even want to get back to use. I wanted to get back to misuse, where I could like be a little bit delinquent, but in a safe way, which was what a lot of my friends were doing. Like we were definitely drinking too much, and like according to a definition of alcohol use disorder, like we were all kind of getting around that mark of like binge drinking, right? But they were doing it safely. And when we graduated college, they calmed down and I didn't.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm an alcoholic. Like I couldn't get back to that point.
Was there anything that happened in college where it scared you a little bit? Was there a night or a specific event that had happened where you were just kind of stopping and like, oh shit?
The first hair-raising incident in college for me was when I was roofied. I got roofied my sophomore year of college. I was a freshman in college when we got sent home from COVID, and we came back in the fall, my sophomore year. And we weren't allowed to have frat parties. Everything was locked down, but there were illegal frat parties happening off campus. And there was a bar that was notorious for drugging people during that time. And we couldn't say anything because we weren't supposed to be there. We weren't supposed to be out. We weren't supposed to be drinking. I was not even 21 either, on top of it. And I got drugged at this bar. And I know, I thought back on it after I got sober, and I was like, was I actually drugged? I was like, oh my God, like what? Maybe I wasn't. Maybe it was me. And then I had to remind myself, like, I have blacked out so many times and like given myself alcohol poisoning so many times. This was completely different. This was 100% a roofing situation. What happened that night was I went out with my friends to the bar, and the next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed. From memory, I woke up still very much high on whatever it may have been, and the hospital sent me home in an Uber. I was in a broken shirt. My shirt had broken, like had one strap, and that's how they sent me home from the hospital, which was so wrong. They put me in an Uber. I was still high. They didn't even drug test me. They just treated me like a drunk kid and sent me on my way. I spent the entire day high. Like my roommate wasn't even home. She was out of town. So I went home from the hospital and just like was in my room by myself and was like, hi. I was like, I called my mom. I was like, because she knew the hospital, they obviously called her, the school called her.
Mhm.
And I was like, I feel really weird. I feel really weird. And she's like, okay. Like go to, student health center. Went to the student health center and they were like, you're okay. You're fine. But I felt really off. And that was new for me. Like I'd never felt that way after a night of drinking. And I was like, why do I feel so high? And I had not done any drugs at that point. So I was really, or I had smoked weed, but that's a different.
Mhm.
And the next day I woke up, like I was high all day that day after being roofied. And the next day I was hysterically crying all day long. Like it felt like it was a come down. I was hysterically crying. I was such an anxious mess. And my mom was going to fly down to New Orleans because I was calling her and I could not stop crying. And then she was like, I'm just putting you on a flight. You're coming home. So I went home for 3 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And so that scarred me. I was really nervous about going to bars. I was nervous about having drinks that were poured. So I just started drinking out of cans, like White Claws, things like that. And I would ask them if they gave me a White Claw not to open it and for them to just give it to me and I would open it myself. I was so anxious, but then it subsided and I went back to my old habits.
Yeah.
It was like, because I was able to say, like, that wasn't me. And it wasn't. I was roofied. But yeah, I got nervous about alcohol, but then I got over it, and that
Yeah.
happened a lot where I would have something traumatic happen with my drinking, and then I would get over it. So that was the first hair-raising incident that wasn't necessarily, like, my own doing. It didn't help however many drinks that I had had before the roofing, but that had happened.
Mm.
Um, there are a bunch of other instances of traumatic drinking.
Mhm.
Um, oof. The worst one that ever happened, this was completely my own doing. And this was the first time that I'd really like taken a look at my drinking. It shouldn't have been the first time. There were other things before that now I can point to and be like, that was you shouldn't have done that. But this was the first time I actually was like affected. Um, so Tulane is an insane school. We do Mardi Gras. We have Monday and Tuesday off from school. And the way that Tulane does Mardi Gras is not like the locals do Mardi Gras. This is just a week straight of substance abuse. It's crazy. Um, so Mardi Gras for us starts on Thursday night. We go out Thursday night. We go out Friday during the day after classes. We start drinking. Then we go out Friday night. Then Saturday is something called block party. It's like full frat row it's through the streets. It's like the biggest day. Then we go out at night. And then Sunday night, Monday, you go out and you stay out until 6 a.m. till Tuesday, which is Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday, and that's called Tequila Sunrise. You stay out until sunset or sunrise. And then it's over. So my junior year was awful for Mardi Gras. I blacked out on Thursday night. I was taken home by my friend's boyfriend who picked me up out of the street because I had fallen. I had a bruise like this. So I blacked out. That wasn't even Mardi Gras yet. I blacked out on Thursday night, like pre Mardi Gras. Like we went to dinner and we went to a bar and I blacked out. And then I got up the next day and I started drinking. Drank all day. I had 2 friends coming in to visit me for Mardi Gras. Drank all day. What we also do is after from the darties, that time in between the darties and at night is we get in U-Hauls that are driven by frat pledges and they drive us to the parades. We're in the back of pickup trucks and they drive us and then we go back out again. So it doesn't really, you're supposed to like take a hiatus and like go home and like either nap or eat. Like I didn't do either. I just drank straight through every day. And so that had happened on Friday. I have 2 friends there. I blacked out again that night. I don't really remember, anything from that night, but I woke up in the morning and started drinking again. Saturday, I get up and I'm so I'm still drunk. I always like woke up still drunk. I was still drunk. And like once I started to teeter the line of hungover, I just started drinking again.
Mhm.
And I went from waking up on my couch in my clothes from the night before, bruises, oh, bruises all over my body, knees, arms, like there's a photo of it, and makeup all over my face. And I literally took a photo. It's on my Instagram. It says, "It's giving, I don't know how to drink properly." And like that aged so poorly. Um, and yeah, so then after that had happened, woke up on the couch in that condition, drink again. And then this was where it got even worse. After blacking out for 2 nights in a row, went and did it again. I started drinking probably around 11 a.m. I made espresso martinis, which was just pouring vodka in my coffee. Um, oh my God. I can't even believe this. It's crazy. Yeah, but then we had our like block party day. And there's a photo of me from that day just chugging Tito's straight out of a handle, linked in arms with someone else doing the same thing. Um, I had done my makeup drunk in the morning, so it just looked insane. Um, and yeah, we went out all day. And at that point, like we had been out all day, and when everyone else went home and we're like, we're gonna hang up our boots and we're gonna go home and we're gonna eat and we're gonna shower and we're gonna, I stayed out all day, kept drinking all day through the night. I was drinking from 11 a.m. till 4 a.m. because while everyone else was sleeping, I continued to drink with literally whoever. Like everyone was out that day, so I wasn't like alone per se. So
Yeah.
I just stayed out.
The different
Nobody,
shifts. You were just going on with the
yes,
different,
and
yeah.
and everyone else was doing like nap here, drink,
Mhm.
don't drink this time or don't skip this night to be able to do this. I was drinking straight through, and so since I had drank from 11 a.m. to 4 a.m. the next day I woke up is to this day the worst day of my entire life. I woke up still drunk, but also I just remember waking up in a panic. Like, what happened last night? And I woke up, makeup all over I opened my eyes, my room is disgusting. And I normally keep my room so tidy. My room is disgusting. There's alcohol everywhere, like empty, like solo cups everywhere. There's clothing all over my room. My sheets have self tanner and makeup and all in it. Like forgive me, I'm from New Jersey and we're always in self tanner. Have it on now. Ugh, it was foul. And I had two friends staying with me, so it was just like a mess. Everyone's clothes, makeup was all over. And I just like was like, I'm living in filth. Like I'm living in filth. And I woke up in that panic. My heart was beating out of my chest. And I started to have a panic attack. And my heart was beating out of my chest and I had no voice. I couldn't even speak. Like my friend was in my bed with me that was staying with me and I couldn't even speak. On top of it, my chest felt like it was I don't even know what. Like when I had been ripping a jewel, I was on the jewel at that point. My jewel like did not leave my lips for like 3 days straight because that was just something like if I was drinking, it was just like that. And so I couldn't even like breathe. I couldn't talk. My chest was, I was beating, and my heart was beating out of my chest. And I felt so nauseous, like from the combination of like the hangover and the anxiety. And my friend's phone wasn't working, of course, and it's Mardi Gras. There's nothing open, like there's no Verizons open in the city of New Orleans. So I remember she like was like, "We gotta go get a new phone for her." And so I get in the car and I'm just like a zombie, but I have to go with her. And we drive like 30 minutes to like West Wego, Louisiana, to the only Best Buy that's open. And I'm look horrid, and she's crying because she's stressed about her phone because they can't get her one, and that's gonna cost her so much, and she's, like, stressed, and I'm just crying because I'm so anxious. So I'm literally crying in a Best Buy, and I go out I'm like, "I can't be in here right now." I go out, and I am dry heaving in a Best Buy parking lot on this day, and I'm like, "This is just not the way. I can't live like this." And so my friend we finally get her phone, and it was at school a couple hours away. And so she drove back to school. And once she left, I was in the darkest place I've ever been in my entire life. Um, She left and my other friends were out because they didn't burn themselves out the first couple of days, so they could still, my roommates have very healthy relationships with alcohol, and they didn't burn themselves out. So no one was in my house. I was in my house alone. And I came into my room and like looked around. I was like, this is just disgusting. And I'm disgusting. I haven't showered. Like I'm like horrified by my behavior, like what I put in my body yesterday and the past couple of days. And so I attempted to try and clean my room by just stripping my bed. I was like, just the sheets need to go. And after I stripped my bed, I sat on the corner of my bed and just hysterically cried, like just sobbed. And I remember just like not wanting to be alive. It was just the darkest day. So I didn't know what else to do. So I called a suicide hotline. I'd never done that before. That's the one and only time I've ever called. And I was just so desperate. Like everything was wrong. And I just didn't know how to get myself out of it. So I called the suicide hotline and the operator picked up and she was like, hello. And once I heard her voice, I just hung up. And I was like, you gotta just figure it out. Like you just have to get through the day. Like you just have to get through the day.
Mm.
And that made it more real for me, is like making the call.
Do they
That
trace that call or no, they can't do that? Just
I
like
don't
police.
know.
Cause so like if you call 911 and there's a hang up, they will trace it back in some
Okay.
cases. If
Okay.
they hear something rattling,
No one
whatever.
called. There was no return call.
Okay.
Um, that is information that I recently revealed to some friends and family. I had never told anyone that I did that, because I knew that if I told someone that I did that, that I would have to stop drinking, and I didn't want to stop drinking.
Mm.
The scariest part about that story is that I drank again the following weekend. That's terrifying. I was in a place where I was either going to kill myself by accident or on purpose, and I still drank the following weekend, and that is terrifying to me. And not just the following weekend, I drank for years after that.
The following weekend, when you did drink, what was the thought process? You took a week hiatus,
I think I made it like 5 days without a drink, and then
and then what was the thought process? I could just have one. I could just
yeah,
drink
I had
tonight.
like a Corona, and I don't know why I was thinking that that was harmless, like, it's still alcohol.
Mm.
I was like, "I'm just gonna have a Corona," and I did. I had one.
The whole night you had one.
I didn't yeah, I just had one. I
Yeah.
was here with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I had after Mardi Gras, I had plans to come here and be with my family, so and they had no idea what had happened the weekend prior, and I was with my brother, and he was getting a beer, and I just got one with him.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really much of a thought process. It was just like, "Oh, my brother's having a beer, I'll have a beer with him."
That's deep. I mean, calling the suicide hotline, it's like you're in a place. I've been in that place where I've thought of it, didn't make the call, but you're in a place where you don't trust yourself anymore.
Mhm.
And once you start trusting yourself, you don't know what to do,
Yeah.
where to go for help. So okay, you're at Tulane. You graduate from Tulane?
Yep.
Okay, and then you said you went to graduate school?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I'm applying to graduate schools
oh,
now.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
graduate.
Yep.
I'm assuming 2024, if my math is correct.
23.
23.
Mhm.
And then you moved to New York City?
No, so I graduated from Tulane. I had a couple of, so that was my junior year. I had a couple other hair-raising incidents after that. I went back to school my senior year and I was drinking way too much. Like I knew that I was, and I started to realize that maybe I should get some help for this. And so I got a therapist in New Orleans after I had gotten to school and been drinking for like 2 weeks straight, and I kept having really bad experiences. Like I was drinking like every day and I was blacking out every time. I was crying nonstop when I was drinking. I was really concerning people, putting a lot of my life in people's hands over and over again. And so I went to school mid-August, and by September I was like, I need a therapist. So I looked up a cognitive behavioral therapist who specialized in, alcohol use disorder in New Orleans. And she diagnosed me with alcohol use disorder in the severe category. So alcohol use disorder has 11 symptoms. 2 to 3 is mild, 4 to 5 is moderate, 6 plus is severe. I had all 11. And the thing that people don't realize about alcohol use disorder, it has nothing to do with any numbers. People are always like, how many times a week were you drinking? How many drinks were you drinking? It has nothing to do with quantity. It doesn't.
It has to do with when you start.
It's
and
like,
what
yeah, time
happens.
of day is not a factor in
Yeah.
alcoholism. And those are all things that I like use to my advantage. I'm like, I'm not drinking in the morning, just 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. sometimes. Like it was just crazy justifications. But anyway, so that was the first time I had a professional tell me that I had alcohol use disorder. And I still didn't identify as an alcoholic, even though that is the medical term.
Mhm.
Even though that's the medical term for alcoholism, I didn't identify as an alcoholic. So she was the first person to try and be like, all right, you're drinking really heavily. Why don't you take 30 days off drinking? And I at first was like, can we try another method? So I tried like moderation management, all of the BS things we do. 1 drink an hour, 4 drinks a night, water between each drink, no hard liquor, or if you're drinking hard liquor, only tequila, like beer or like all of these stupid rules I never stuck to. And if I ever did stick to them, I was stressed out the entire night and couldn't enjoy myself because I was worried about going beyond. And it made my self-esteem so low because I kept failing.
Mhm.
So it was worse when it was blissful when I wasn't even trying and I was failing. But when I was trying and I kept failing to stick to the amount of drinks or whatever, that's when my self-esteem really got impacted.
Mhm.
And I decided to do the 30 days only after I had blacked out and lost my passport at a casino and had no memory of like getting home. That's when I was like, all right, I'll do the 30 days. But on
Mhm.
the 30th day, I drank and I blacked out
Yeah.
and went right back to it. Just was like, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my senior year. I'll figure this out after graduation.
Mhm.
And that was not a wise decision. My blackouts, the thing about my alcoholism was it really was progressive. Like my blackouts became quicker. I didn't have to have as much alcohol for me to black out. They were more intense. My withdrawal periods got so much worse, so much longer. I was consistently waking up every Sunday and being suicidal and consistently waking up and being anxious. Like consistently, it would be I would drink, I would black out, wake up not remembering how I got home, and just either wake up drunk or anxious. And I still kept doing it. And that's so concerning. Like, I just didn't wanna not drink. I didn't wanna be sober. I did everything not to be sober. Tried everything.
Did you stay with this therapist for a while, or
Yeah,
you did?
until I got sober.
Okay, so you do the 30 days, you black out at day 30. What is she saying, "Hey, well, now at this point, maybe you should try meetings." Are you introduced to any
No,
kind of 12-step program?
no,
Are you being honest with her?
no,
Mm,
that's why.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I wasn't being completely honest. Um, so I graduate from college after this. By the time I graduate, I'm in a horrible place mentally. And I remember graduating from college and my family being like so proud of me, so excited. And I remember saying, like, what are you proud of? Literally, what are you proud of? I got into college, I went to college, I graduated. There's no honors, there's nothing special. Like, I don't have a job. Like, what are we proud of here? I certainly wasn't proud of myself. Like, I hated who I was.
I had the same experience.
Yeah.
My whole family came up for graduation, and I'm like, "I'm a piece of shit." Like,
Yeah.
"What do
I was
you
like,
guys?"
I am abusing substances every day. Like, I was sitting with my diploma doing whippets.
Yeah. How were your grades?
Good. My grades were great.
That I don't get.
my,
That's
gr- my
wild.
grades, I had to keep that up. I had to keep that up. My greatest talent is keeping up appearances
Mhm.
while I'm struggling. So good at it, like beyond.
Mhm.
I knew if my grades slipped, that would raise red flags.
Were you justifying your drinking and your partying
By
with
my
your
behavior.
grades?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you
Oh
justifying?
yeah. I justified my drinking behavior by the way that I was in my daily life.
Mm-hmm.
Used the term before, I am a Jekyll and Hyde drunk. I am a different person when I consume alcohol. It's a complete betrayal of self. I can be, one way sober, which I am, and I'm a completely different person when I drink alcohol. I've never met that person. I don't recognize that person. The drunk version of me is everything that I am not, and that is something that I liked in the beginning, and it's something I hated in the end. The reason I started drinking, it made me more fun, it made me more social, it relieved my anxiety because I was so uptight and anxious and serious and not cool by any means, and it made me more of what I wanted to be, and then in the end, it made me horrible and made me feel horrible. So it turned on me, really, alcohol really
Yeah.
turned on me.
When my drinking and drugging really got out of control after college when I moved into New York City, and I would always have these jobs, like these great jobs. And anytime anyone said anything to me or sensed something was wrong with me and brought it to me, I was like, whoa, like relax. I work at Discovery Channel. I work at Google. Like you can't tell me what to do. And I would
Yeah,
justify my use. I would get defensive with people. And that kept me out there for much longer because of that.
yeah,
So, a lot of
yeah,
people get sober much later than they probably should. And it's okay. It's important to say to the newcomer or someone listening or someone who's in active addiction that just because you have something great going on, you could be justifying your use.
yeah,
And that doesn't necessarily mean you're not an alcoholic.
yeah,
And I convinced myself I wasn't an alcoholic because I always showed up to work. I don't know how and what form, but I always got to work on time.
yeah. I'm right there with you. I thought because my life was not falling apart that I was not an alcoholic. I was still maintaining good grades. I wasn't suffering consequences really outside of myself. Socially was kind of the opposite. Everyone wanted to be around me when I was drinking for the most part. Um, so I just didn't think I had a problem, like,
Mm,
because my life wasn't falling apart. I thought alcoholics had to be all day, everyday drinkers. I thought that alcoholics had to be ruining their lives from the inside out, and I wasn't fitting that mold. So that kept me drinking for a very long time.
yeah. Were you experiencing sort of suicidal ideology where you didn't want to take your life, but if you went, you didn't care?
Yeah, that's what it was. I had no plan to take my own life. I felt really trapped because I didn't want to be alive, but I just didn't want the life that I had, but I didn't know how to not have the life that I had. And I didn't know how to live without alcohol, but I also it was unmanageable with alcohol in my life. So I didn't want I'm trying to think of how I like thought about it.
Like if I got hit by a bus, I didn't care.
Yes, oh yeah. I honestly hoped that I would just drink enough to die by accident.
Mhm.
I just when I would wake up, I would be so angry that I woke up. I just wanted to die.
Mm,
I didn't want to kill myself, but I wanted to be dead.
mm.
I knew I couldn't kill myself because of my friends, my family, mainly my family had already suffered from a tragic death. Um, and I knew I couldn't do it to my family, but I just was like, just take me out. Like, I had no value for my life. I didn't value my life at all. I didn't respect the life that I was given. And I just would say all of these toxic phrases that we have around drinking, here for a good time, not a long time, things like that. Like I would say that all the time, literally here for a good time, not a long time. And then just go out and like drink enough to kill myself and just like hope and pray that like I would.
Mm.
I can't believe those are phrases that were like normal.
Yeah. So you graduate Tulane.
Yep. I
What do you
graduate Tulane and my drinking gets worse. It was excused in college as being college. My mom threatened to send me to rehab so many times, but I kept being like, "It's college, it's college, it's college," and because she wasn't seeing it with her own eyes, like, and I like, you know, we all explain that things we all think that we have. I genuinely believe that I had a handle on things and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I graduated college, I went to Europe like 10 days later with my friends, and I drank every single day of that trip, and I had horrible behavior, a lot of near death experiences in Europe. Um, and at the end of the trip, I had blacked out and stayed out by myself, ended up by myself until 6 o'clock in the morning, and then drank all day the following day. And I spent the last 2 days of the trip in the hotel room, shaking, sweating, crying, anxious, like just wanting to die. I was miserable. And I my friend got me up on the last night of the trip, and she was like, "You have to get up. You really have to get up," because I hadn't left the room for 48 hours. And I got up and I went to dinner, and they had wine and whatever, and I was like, "No," I was like, I don't even know if I can ever drink again." But I drank the following week. Another opportunity to drink presented itself, and even though this was a common occurrence to have a horrible traumatic experience drinking, terrible, horrible withdrawals, and then pick up a drink like 5 days later, and that's exactly what happened again, and that kept happening. And at this point, I'm living at home, so my mom is seeing this stuff now, and she's not awake when I get home and I'm drunk, but she's there in the morning when I'm debilitated, and she's tired of seeing it, and I'm tired of feeling that way. And it got to the end of the summer, and I wanted to move to LA with my cousin, and I was like, "It's gonna be fun, we're gonna move to LA, blah, blah," and she was like, "You can't go unless you stop drinking." She's like, "I don't trust you. You keep saying that you're having these horrible experiences drinking. I'm really concerned. I wanna take this seriously. You can't go unless you don't drink." And she was like, "If you go, you can go for like a 3-month trial period, but you can't drink while you're there the entire time." And I was
Sounds
like,
horrible.
I know. At that point, I did not wanna drink, but I really I had nothing waiting for me at home, I had no job. My friends were all getting jobs, and I was just focusing on drinking. So I wasn't really trying that hard to get a job, and I was living at home, so I was comfortable. And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I had a last hurrah. I went to a wedding with an open bar, and I went insane for the wedding, and that was like my last hurrah. Like, I drank like a fish, had a horrible hangover, and that was the last time I drank before I went on that 90-day hiatus. And my life changed in those 90 days. I was feeling amazing. I was, feeling incredible in those 90 days. I was still smoking weed for that time, but no alcohol really changed my life. And I ended up saying, "You know what? I'm going to kick this to a year." And I ended up not drinking for a full year. But then I got to the end of the year and I was like feeling really confident, and I had it in my head, I could take a year off of drinking, so I'm not an alcoholic. I will do it right this time. I'm out of college. I'm living across the country. I have great things going for me. I have a job. I had a boyfriend, like all this stuff. I was like, I'm good. I'm in a great place. And it worked that first time. I had an Aperol Spritz in New York with my friends. I was home, and I had two that day, and I was feeling great. And then it got worse after that. I drank for about 2 to 3 months before I got completely sober, and haven't drank since then,
And
but
that's the 2 to 3 months between that year where you
yep,
didn't drink and then now.
yeah.
Okay.
So, I had that year, started drinking at, like, the end of September, and it started off okay, I was managing it, and then I was going through a really rough time. I don't know why this was, like, an opportune time for me to start drinking again. I had just read Names on September 11th. And so I was just like going through that in September. Like, I'm always an emotional wreck around September 11th. So that had just happened. My relationship was really rocky. I had just left a job, and then like just back to back things started happening after that. All that was going on. And then it was like my dog just died, and then my mom's parents, like my grandparents died in the same week. Like it was just a rough 3 months. Like everything had been going on, and I used all of that to excuse really bad behavior. I was coping, I was grieving a bunch of things. The thing that really the hardest thing about all of that was the breakup I was going through. And I kind of was like, we're back, we're drinking again. Like, I'm just going to have so much fun. And all that did was just take me to a darker place than I'd ever been in my entire life. Worse than that before that year, if that was even, if that was even possible. Cause that, before took that year off, thought that was rock bottom. Rock bottom was the 3 month period in between taking a year off and stopping for good. I was constantly blacking out, and my withdrawals were the worst they had ever been. I was trying to moderate and get it under control, but I was ending up just blacking out and then being so depressed and so anxious for days. Like, I remember one day, like, I couldn't even speak. Like, I couldn't even lift my head or speak that day. Like, nothing, there was no movement because I had blacked out, done something I regretted, and felt so shameful. And I couldn't even, like, apologize to anyone or, like, fathom making amends over what I had done and who I had affected from that night for, like, 3 days. Like, I couldn't get myself to even, like, pick up the phone and apologize because I was like, if I move right now, like, something really bad is going to happen. And so I was just feeling incredibly suicidal at the end there. And that was when I was in LA. My last day I ever drank was at home in New Jersey. Sorry. The last day I ever drank was in New York, but I went home the day after that to New Jersey. The last day I ever drank like wasn't a canon event. It was just like a day where it was just like I was desperate. I was like I can't live like this anymore. I had my best friend's birthday, and I got really drunk on her birthday and, like, embarrassed myself, embarrassed her in front of, like, her friends, and I felt really bad about that, and she's the best. She didn't get mad at me. She just knew how happy I was when I wasn't drinking, and in the morning, I was staying with her, and she just sat me down. She was like, "We gotta talk about last night," and I was like, "Oh god, like, what I do, what I do, what I do, what I do." And she's like, "I just think you were happier when you weren't drinking." She was like, "Your life," she's like, "I know you're not happy. Like, I can tell you're not happy. Like, you're going through a lot, you're grieving a lot, you're going through a breakup, you have a lot of death in your family. Like, I know you're not happy." And I just started to cry. I was like, "You're right, I'm not happy." She's like, "I know you're coping." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, you're right." And I had a drink at uh that day I went to brunch. And then I went to a bar, and then I went to dinner, but I really was, like, treading lightly. I was like, "I know she's right, but I'm just gonna, like, drink today. I'm just gonna, like, have some drinks." And I didn't get drunk that day at all. I was really turned off by it, but, like, just didn't really see not drinking that day as an option. But it was that the last drink was at dinner. When I was sitting there at dinner, I was so hungover, so anxious, and I had, like, 2 sips of my drink, and I was like, "I can't drink this. Like, I can't continue this life." So I went home the next day and came home, and my mom was like, "You look miserable. Like, what happened to you?" And I was like, "I drank a lot this weekend." She's like, Aren't you tired of being like this and feeling like this? Like, I'm tired of seeing it. You're miserable." She was like, "You just don't have a good relationship with alcohol. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You can stop drinking. You don't have to keep trying to make it work." And I never drank again. So between my best friend and my mom, it wasn't like, "You're an alcoholic. You need rehab. You need to go to AA." It was like, "This isn't good for you, and you are miserable, and we can all tell." And so I never drank again after that.
It was very apparent, and like the
It
people
was
around you.
obvious, there was no other option. Like, I had treated it before like it was some lifestyle choice
Yeah.
that I was making to, like, better myself, but the truth is I am an alcoholic. And that was something that I didn't know when I stopped drinking. I knew, because of the denial, like, I knew that I had a bad relationship with alcohol. I knew it didn't make me happy. I knew I was happier and I was better off without it, but I didn't know I was an alcoholic until I was like 9 months sober, and that's when I called myself an alcoholic for the first time, not as a joke.
So day one, sober. Do you go to a meeting? Do you
No, I didn't go to an
what
AA meeting for the first 9 months.
the first 9 months? Okay, so
Yeah.
you now have the support of your mom, your best friend, and I'm sure support of many others that
Yeah.
were around you. What were those 9 months like without any kind of program? You had said that you were
Mm,
on a pink cloud. Was it
yeah.
something new? I mean, you had
Um,
been sober a year prior.
they were the beginning, yeah, I had a rough time for sure. Like, I just had accepted that this was my life, but I definitely and I was, like, really trying to make my life great without alcohol. Um, it was great in the beginning, I was really doing well, I ended up actually moving back. I moved to New York, moved out of LA, I had to come home. I moved let's see, I got sober in December, and I moved home in April, and then I moved into my apartment in Manhattan in June, and I was really having an amazing time, I was really doing well, but after I stopped drinking and stopped smoking, I had nothing to remedy my day-to-day anxiety, which is really bad. And not nothing. I was on SSRIs, but I
Mhm.
had to switch my medication because I was still on the same medication that I was since I was like 16. And so it wasn't doing what it was supposed to anymore. So when I had no more of my vices, that's when the anxiety really settled in. And so I had a really rough kind of summer. Because I realized how bad my day-to-day anxiety was without any of my vices. Nothing to come home to, nothing to remedy, nothing to soothe me. And so I ended up switching medication that way, and I started to kind of have I was having a lot of fun going out, but I was starting to feel very lonely because I was the only one of my friends that didn't drink. I didn't try to meet any sober people. I tried to do the dry drunk thing, and it didn't work. So, it was after a I decided to go to an AA meeting after a weekend where I went out like 2 nights in a row with my friends. It was fun and everything, but I just found myself getting some anxiety about going out and being out because of the comments that I was getting when I said that I didn't drink. And it's normally like we have this 50-50 scenario where if I tell someone they don't that I don't drink, half the time I'll get a positive response and the other half I'll get like that's so lame or like why not or like you're not an alcoholic are you or like things like that or what are you sober all of the different things that I get and I got some particularly kind comments from men who tried to buy me drinks that weekend and I just was like I got to find sober people I really do like I can't just be around drunk people all the time one guy was like, I think I said like, "Oh, I'm sober," and he goes, "Oh, what were you into, blow?" What kind of question is that? And then another guy, he was like, "Oh, so yeah." Another guy tried to buy me a drink, and I go, no, I'm sober." And he goes, "Oh, so what are you, a virgin?" It's like, it's just
These men out here.
oh my god. So I just was like, I gotta meet a sober person. So I went to a meeting. I cried in my first meeting. I just knew I was in the right place, and I had
Mhm.
thought all that time that I wasn't going to belong in an AA meeting because I had that terminal uniqueness that we all have where we think nobody can understand us. Nobody could ever possibly understand symptoms that 50% of people have endured in alcoholism and addiction. And I thought I was like the only young 20-year-old girl with an alcohol problem, which is a ridiculous statement to even think about now that I've met so many amazing, wonderful women who have struggled with the same thing that I have. And so I went to that meeting. I identified as an alcoholic. I shared and I got some phone numbers and I started meeting people. And this is a meeting I go to habitually now, a women's meeting in the city. And a few months ago, I got a sponsor and I started doing the 12 steps. Like it took me a little while to warm up to the program.
Mhm.
Um, and now I love it. I really do. It's not the only tool I use. I think a lot of people in AA think like AA is the way, like you have to do AA and it's like you can't be really sober, or you can't do it without AA. I don't feel that way. I feel like now that I'm early in sobriety, it's great. It's a great tool, but I also think that individual therapy is a great tool. And I think that there's a lot of other things that you can do outside of AA to live a very fulfilling sober life. And like I'll meet people who have been sober for, 30 years and they don't really go to AA anymore. They don't really feel like they need it. And I know people who go every single day because they need it. So
Mhm.
I really do think that it's a great tool for whatever you want to use it for.
So you make two really good points. Number one, you were in your early 20s getting sober. I always thought AA was old men that were just angry with beards. And
Yep.
I don't know why they had beards, but so I got sober in New York City as well. New York City is the mecca of meetings and sobriety,
Yep.
and there is every demographic in there, every walk of life you can find at a meeting. And I remember I saw it was a celebrity, it was a young celebrity, and he was the speaker at the meeting, one of my first meetings. And I was like, holy shit, if he can get sober, it must be cool. Like, this is cool. And then, but I later went to all these other meetings and met people my age because I was in my 20s when I got sober.
Mhm.
And, I met all these people who were young and it was the complete opposite of what I thought. And then I didn't feel alone anymore. And then I
Yeah.
built this sober community, and we need a community.
Yeah.
Going out there on your own is nearly impossible. It is possible, but the odds are significantly against you.
Yes.
And, you talked about, I used to be that guy. AA is the only way to get sober. If you're not going to meetings, if you don't have a sponsor, I was a dick. I was a dick when I first got sober. When I started this show a year and a half ago, I have seen every which way people can get sober, clean, abstinent, whatever you want to call it. Um, there isn't. I got sober the AA way, and I found myself like, well, that was my experience, and I'm trying to project it on everyone else. There are people who don't go to meetings, and the end goal is to achieve that happiness.
Yeah.
My end goal isn't to sit in an AA meeting for the rest of my life in a church basement. I'm
Right.
doing that to improve my life so that I'm happy and I can take joy in doing things and whatever. People are achieving that without a 12-step program. And if you
Right.
can do it, that's amazing. There's no one way to get sober.
Yeah.
Um, but back to community, you now start going to meetings. What did community do for you?
I've met a lot of great sober women, and that is super motivating for me. Community has It's not what got me sober, but it's kept me sober and what will continue to, keep me sober. I have a few great friends who are sober, and I can't really talk to my normie friends about alcoholic things. So instead of like trying to reach out to a friend that has never struggled with this or never will understand what I'm going through, I have friends who do understand. And so we talk like every day, or like, any thoughts that we're having. It is also great to have like role models in the program too. Like I have a friend now who just recently got married like a few months ago, and I told her recently, I was like, "You know what? Watching you get married quelled so many anxieties I had about recovery. When I first got sober, I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have champagne at my wedding. And like, oh my God, I'll never date again. Like, everybody wants to go get drinks, or like, nobody's gonna wanna date an alcoholic." Like, and I just watching someone in the program who's like, she's young, she's in her 20s, like get married and have a wonderful wedding and have a fun wedding, have a wonderful life, just like quelled so many fears of mine. So even just seeing what other people do in the program and their lives outside of the program is super motivating. And it's just great to have community. Like, it's really great to have people around you that understand you, because it's one thing to have, you can have empathy for someone, but to like actually understand their experience is invaluable.
It's funny. I have that group too. I have the sober group that I talk to about sober things, and then I have my degenerate friends that I grew up with that are,
Yeah.
and like, I will cop a resentment over the pettiest shit. And like, I will call my alcoholic friends to talk about that.
Yeah.
If I bring that to like my boys, they're just like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, chill, relax.
Yeah.
They'll think I'm insane,
Yeah.
So it's like those people that can relate. We have the same thinking, so,
Right.
and that's what it's all about. It's about the thinking and,
Yeah.
changing that perspective of how we see things.
Yes.
So, you brought your mom here.
Yeah.
Amazing. Your mom is such a wonderful woman.
Yes, she is.
She loves you to death. She's so proud of you.
Yeah.
And I know that because when you used the bathroom, she was telling me how proud she was of you. And
That's really sweet.
which it's amazing.
Yeah.
How is the relationship with you and your mom today?
It was healed by my sobriety. My mom is incredible. I've always had a ton of respect for her. She's the strongest woman I know, but I was a terror in my family when I was drinking. And our relationship was not the same when I was drinking. I started drinking in high school. And although my drinking wasn't problematic, it definitely like just caused some rifts because she just was like concerned about my drinking. And even before it got bad, she was like always concerned about my drinking. When I was drinking, I was always like hiding things. And it's not in a traditional way that you think of addicts lying about like stealing money or things like that, but it's just like leaving things out of stories or just lying about like knowing remembering things. Like if I would black out the night before, she's like, "What did you do last night?" Instead of saying like, "I don't remember," or like, "How'd you get home?" "I don't remember," but I just like make something up, right? And so I feel like I was being dishonest a lot, and that made me feel ashamed, and then I felt bad. So like I was kind of withdrawing. Like our relationship has truly been healed by my sobriety. When I called her and I said, I feel like myself again. I feel like I'm 15 again when I got sober. She said, "I've been grieving you. Welcome back." And she just felt like she was like, "I felt like I lost my daughter. I didn't know where you went from like, 18 to 22-ish, 23, roughly." She just felt like for like 5 years of my life, she lost me. And I feel way more similar now to myself when I was 15 than I do to when I was 20, 21.
Mhm.
And we're super close now. Not that we were not close or anything in terms of like if I told her things that she would obviously be there for me. It wasn't a problem of her. It was a problem of me being so ashamed of what was going on in my life that I couldn't tell her. And I think I had to prime her before getting on this podcast. I was like, I have to tell you some things that I haven't told you because I know they're going to upset you. And like, that's why I didn't tell you while they were happening because I didn't want to alarm you. Um, but I was like, I do have to tell you some things and I know they're going to upset you. And she just feels horrible. She's like, I'm so upset that you didn't tell me, or like, was there something I did that made you feel like you weren't comfortable telling me? And
Aw.
I'm like, it literally has
Has
nothing to
nothing
do
to
with
do with
you. It
you.
really doesn't.
Yeah.
And I've tried to teach her that. And she's like, was there anything like there's nothing she could have done to prevent this? Like she gave me an incredible childhood.
Yeah.
Um, she gave me everything. She supported me, throughout my alcoholism, throughout my recovery. Like she has done nothing wrong and she still feels guilty.
Mm.
And she just feels guilty that I felt the way that I did for so long. But I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
I was life of the party, high achieving. And when I was me, myself, and I is when the darkness happened. And I didn't tell anyone about that.
Mm.
People could tell, but they didn't know how bad it was. And I made a joke of everything. I mean, I just rode on that like I'm an alcoholic, but like it's
Ha ha
funny,
ha ha. Yeah.
And even in my sobriety, in my early sobriety, like I still can like there's things I can laugh about, right? Like a lot of the memories that I can laugh about now come from like the first couple hours of the night before I did something stupid or blacked out or didn't remember. So I can laugh about certain things from when I was drinking, but then there are some things that I look back on, I'm like, that's not funny anymore. Like that was super concerning and like that's not cool to do to people. Um yeah, I think there's this balance now of like taking my sobriety very seriously and my recovery very seriously, but also not too seriously that I can't like look back and laugh. Like I don't need to look at every memory that happened from when I was drinking and scorn myself for it or make myself feel bad about it or make myself feel shamed. I felt that way while I was drinking. So why do I need to feel that way now?
Exactly.
Like I am so proud of myself. I turned the thing that brought me the most shame and brought me the most misery to the thing that makes me happiest and proudest. So I'm really proud of myself and I don't want to live in shame anymore. I think too, talking to older people in the program is interesting because they're so like anonymity is the backbone of this program. And I don't feel that way. What I've done with my social media and showing people that your life doesn't have to end when you get sober, the party doesn't have to end when you get sober. Like, not only is a life without alcohol possible, but a fulfilling life without alcohol is possible. And I didn't know that
Yeah.
when I tried to get sober. So I really don't care about my anonymity. I don't care if everyone knows that I'm an alcoholic. I don't care if everyone knows that I'm in recovery. I respect that there's people who don't want that out there. But for me, being able to pay it forward and help other people has been so rewarding for me because it's what I wish had happened for me. I want to go back so badly and shake myself and be like, stop. First of all, stop drinking. Second of all, like a life without alcohol is possible. You cannot drink. It is an option. Sobriety is an option, which I never knew. And being able to show that to people online, I'm getting the most rewarding messages. That's the best part about what I do is getting a message that, this is really helping me or this has inspired me to get sober. This has inspired me to think about getting sober. Or, I'm sober and I resonate with what you're saying and this has made me feel less alone. Or I have people come back in my DMs and tell me their day count, and that's amazing. Like
It's the best.
it's amazing. I
Yeah.
had a girl recently, it's mostly young women, but not just young women. I had a girl reach out to me and I gave her some advice and she came back and told me I've been sober ever since you talked to me. And like that is like it brings tears to my eyes. And then I had something recently, someone sent me like a paragraph recently about how watching me has inspired them to get sober and stuff like that. It's just like amazing. And I think it would be such a disservice to like not put that out there for other people to see. Um, and I really do wish I had a role model like me when I was getting sober. I think it would have helped me a lot, but I didn't. And I can pay forward the kindness and the wisdom that has been given to me from other sober people by sharing it online.
It's a form of service.
Hmm.
You're putting yourself out there. And it's crazy because this podcast has been going on for a year and a half. The first 6 months, I was mortified obviously I put it out there that I was, an alcoholic, but I was mortified to really let go and tell my story. And then I finally did it 6 months in. And it was so freeing.
Yeah.
And so many people reached out. And then I started creating videos on TikTok. I don't do it as much anymore, but I was really putting myself out there and just telling the craziest stories that had happened while I was drinking, drugging, whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm getting a million phone calls from my family. That happened. This happened. Did we traumatize you as a kid?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you didn't. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
But once I did that I hit a new level in my sobriety.
Yeah.
I unlocked a new level. And it's a form of service. When someone reaches out to you and says, I have 32 days today. I saw a video that you did, an interview 32 days ago, and it prompted me to go to a meeting. And I'm sober since. Thank you very much. That is the most fulfilling thing that could happen.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing feeling.
It really is.
So we talked a little bit about doing the work on ourselves in the program, right? It's new in sobriety when we first get sober, the pain cloud, and then the pain cloud goes away and it's like, okay, well, have we worked on ourselves? What has, you know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go light. What?
No, go. I can take it. I can take it.
What has been the most eye-opening thing that you learned about yourself in the past year?
I think what I was saying before about having something horrible and traumatic happen while drinking and returning to it. That's been the most eye-opening thing, where a moment that should have been rock bottom, should have been the last time I ever drank, wasn't. That's that's crazy. About myself, I think it's that a lot of the thoughts that I had of myself were incorrect. I thought I just kind of had accepted that I was gonna be, like, delinquent, and I was going to be messy, I was going to be, like, this hot mess, and I was always just gonna be that party girl, but I'm not at all. I had this I was always just like, "Oh my god, I'm so crazy, like, I just did that, like, I must be crazy." Like, nobody who's not crazy would ever do that, and then I'm like, "Wait, now that I have no alcohol, I'm very level-headed." Like, I'm very I can be awkward, I can be shy, like, none of those traits I had while I was drinking. Um, you're completely disinhibited when you're drinking, you know?
Mhm.
And I had that flip of my personality where any trait that I have sober is turned on its head drinking. And so I started to really associate myself only with my drinking personality because I was always either drunk or hungover or, that buffer in between where it's just like, I'm sober and I'm not hungover, but I'm depressed. So I tied my entire personality to my drunk personality. And now that that's eradicated by my sobriety, I realize I'm so much different than I thought that I was. That's been the most eye-opening thing. Just being wrong. Honestly, just being wrong too. Like all of the thoughts I've had about myself, about, alcoholism, what alcoholism looks like, what addiction looks like, what sobriety looks like, even just things about alcohol that I like all these things that we as a society have made up without any regard to like scientific research about alcohol. Like everything was wrong. All my thinking was just wrong.
Mhm.
And I think being able to take accountability and learn more about myself and more about alcoholism than I've ever known has been really eye-opening.
I thought I was such a shitty person for a very long time. And then I
Yeah.
started to do the work on myself and I realized I'm not a shitty person. And that shitty person mentality was compounded. It was compounded shame and guilt.
Yeah.
And it kept me drinking, kept me drugging for so long till it got so bad that the only way I could live was by getting sober.
Yeah.
And then I share something with my sober community, right? Why you need a sober community. And people are like, "Oh, you did that. I did this." Like, and one up
Yeah.
me. And it's like, it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We do make mistakes and we move forward from it.
I think one of the things we say in the program, like, we're not bad people trying to get good, we're sick people trying to get well, and that's something that I had a problem with in the beginning because I was like, "I must be a bad person if I did this or I did that," but that alcoholic version of me isn't me at all,
Mhm.
you know? Ugh. Yikes.
Well,
Ugh.
Neva, I want to thank you for coming on. Before we wrap up, if you have one piece of advice for the person who's still actively drinking or drugging, or even new in sobriety, what piece of advice would that be?
All of your fears about getting sober are going to be the best parts about being sober. Yeah.
What's a fear that you had?
I feared that I would never have fun again. That's one of the first ones, and I have more fun now than I did while I was drinking. It was anything that was fun about my drinking was eradicated by the withdrawals of the morning and the regret and everything like that, so I just felt like the fun is over, like, my social life is gonna suck, like, I'm gonna my friends aren't gonna wanna hang out with me, and my friends wanna hang out with me more that I'm sober than they
Yeah.
did when I was drunk, so and just, like, sobriety has opened up so many doors for me. Like, I can't imagine if I was still drinking. Like, I was so afraid of feeling everything. And now I'm glad to feel everything because now I'm like, this is what being a person is like. I was so afraid to uncover all of these things that I had kept down for so long. I was afraid of addressing my issues that I knew that I had, and like addressing them and getting through them is so empowering. Um like, how great is it that I can look at something that I did when I was drinking, or I can look at something, an experience, and instead of beating myself up about it, feeling guilty, feeling shame, I can say that happened and I can't change that, and I'm going to move on, and I'm going to be better. And that's it. Like, I don't feel bad about really anything. Of course, we all have things that we feel bad about from when we were drinking, but I can give myself grace now that I didn't have when I was drinking at all. And in early sobriety, I still felt that guilt. I still felt that shame, but not to say that that goes away. I still have, like, in Charlie Sheen's documentary, he explains the shame shakes. Like, I'll get a memory of something and I'm like, oh my, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Like, but then that feeling goes away and I'm like, I'm so proud of who I am now. And it's not worth a second of my time because I can't change the past.
If we continue to do the right thing, the next right thing, it makes those shameful things that you have done while you were drinking or in active addiction, or even maybe early in sobriety, makes it easier to accept them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
I
me.
appreciate you. We'll say you came down from New York.
Sure.
Thank you again. Safe travels back.
Thank
And
you.
I appreciate you getting vulnerable with us just to help the newcomer and
Yeah.
someone who is out there struggling.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This
Of
has been
course.
amazing.